Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst, the great Malabite, Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Kayode.
Good morning.
Yes, we'll start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, NLC, why we suspended planned nationwide strike over subsidy, accuses federal government of weaponizing ex parte injunction against workers. KPMG report predicts 30% inflation rate, 6 questioning measures. Advises federal government to implement Onrosanye report. NESG advises government to mobilize public support via citizen education. Yes, Labour has to explain how it arrived at the decision to suspend the strike. But at the root of that, there was an ex parte motion, which the government already obtained. Now a familiar tactics. Recall how after 8 months of ASU strike, it was a court injunction that forced them to work. So why wait for the strike to start? Get the ex parte motion as a weapon and you use it to stop the strike. But of course, there were dialogue that went on and promises, long list of things to do to cushion the effect, so that ordinary Nigerians, whom according to KPMG are facing the prospect of a 30% inflation as a result of this fuel subsidy removal. And those ordinary Nigerians don't include a certain Dr. Ruben Abati, who I know is pedigree and net worth. You are not part of it. Because if we were to define you as one of the ordinary Nigerians, then the government will not bother to put any palliative in place.
Now, some of us have started taking lessons in trekking. How to trek from Ikoyi to Ikeja.
I was going to mention that. I got carried away. When doctor said we ordinary, I was like,
Ruben, you are not part of that group. You know I know better. Now, the Vanguard newspaper also reporting why we shelved planned nationwide strike. NLC TUC. The Punch newspaper, subsidy reps demand NNPCL audit over unaccounted 2 trillion naira assets. Some NNPCL subsidiaries bought crude oil without evidence of payment, lawmakers are alleging. Legislators organize private sector, back refineries privatization. Uber, Bolt drivers begin nationwide strike. Well, they are withdrawing the services because they want adjustment to reflect the new price of fuel. And in the absence of that, of course, they will be running at a loss, and they don't want to work for free for owners of these apps. Now, the Guardian newspaper, the lead story there, unreliable grid, alternative energy spike borrowing, cost by 50%. Well, and of course, below the photograph there, CSOs knock NLC for suspending strike, e-hailing drivers, down tools, shut down apps. The Daily Telegraph, subsidy removal, artisans, business owners accuse NLC, TUC of selling out. The Daily Independent newspaper, reps want officials involved in unveiling Nigerian Air prosecuted, warned federal government over cost of terminating 10 million e-passport contract. Now, the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, also on Air Nigeria, reps to federal government halt further action on Nigerian Air. Was it launched or unveiled? What's the difference? Well, the House of Rep Committee needs to unveil that. But the new National Assembly will need to take a very serious look at the goings on in the so-called Nigerian Air. The minister said Air Nigeria will fly before May 29. And of course, an aircraft flew into the country carrying the logo. From what we've heard from the managing director, it was only just to showcase how the logo will look on airplane. What a country. Cannot allow that to continue. Now, after spending billions just to show us logo, how it will look on aircraft, and that's what you call Air Nigeria will fly before May 29. Now, the National New Telegraph newspaper, Akpabio's fate uncertain as Tinubu breaks speakership impasse. Sticks to Northwest may unveil dark horse. Jaji Thursday. Met Gaji Soli, others at State House yesterday. Wase Abbas to get ministerial slot. Why Akwa Ibom ex-governor may lose colleagues' support. Yes, and of course, the Nation newspaper also reporting about the leadership of the 10th National Assembly. Tinubu in crucial talks over Senate President Speaker. President urges Wase, Betara, Gaji, others to accept party's choice. Meeting slated with APC governors, National Working Committee, senators, reps elect today. Of course, nothing is certain yet, and I'm sure it will remain so until the day. That's Tuesday, the 13th of June, when the senators, the House of Reps members, will elect their leader as stipulated by the Constitution. Now, if we just look at the foreign newspapers quickly, the Times of London, Duke launches political attack. Government at rock bottom. Paranoid, Harry tells High Court. Royal Convention discarded on historic day of evidence. Of course, Prince Harry breaking with tradition. The first royal to appear in court to testify since 1891. But that was not all that was history. He also delved into politics. And of course, journalists should take note. He said his mission is to save, upholding the important values and to save journalism as a profession. Prince Harry is the one saying that. Of course, he had harsh words for Piers Morgan. Yes, Piers Morgan, his traducer, you will say, whom he said has subjected himself and his wife to horrific barrage of attacks. But his case of hacking, he still has to prove in court. But hacking as a way of getting information, of course, is not part of journalism profession. Those who do that, of course, are actually offending the law. But Harry is in court. Ruben, Ayo, and Kayode.
Who wants to go first? Well, Ifeni, I saw one interesting story. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak showing excitement about one new drug that has been found now that can reduce obesity. It's called Wegovy or semaglutide. And the thing is that if you use this particular drug, it will curb hunger and it can reduce your weight by about 15%. So immediately I saw that. I know some of the people I see on a daily basis here who have very obvious abdominal obesity. And all the people who choose to eat during production. I said, this drug, if we can get it, maybe some of us, the tummy will go.
Of course, the reason why Rishi Sunak is happy is because it will help curb obesity in the UK. Because
and reduce NHS
yes,
cost.
NHS cost. But he's a very slim man.
But, you know, maybe some of you with...
No, but it's good to have some flesh, you know. But not obesity.
Okay, I won't talk about women. But it looks like another major breakthrough. And then I know you are a sports aficionado. So it looks like the Saudi Investment Fund, the Saudi Arabians, they've resolved the matter between LIV Golf and the PGA Tour. They are going to come up with a company and they are going to invest $2 billion. So after all, it looks like sports. It's all about money. Even if we're told professional golfers are saying nobody consulted them. But the Saudis are putting in $2 billion. So they will end up making more money.
A lot of consultations.
Sports is all about money.
No, a lot of consultations have gone on where they were not consulted. Now they have been consulted and money is involved. So what's the problem? Ruben?
The big news, as in most of the, reported in many of the newspapers, was of course the House of Representatives Aviation Committee meeting and the outcomes from that. I do, in terms of emphasis, we talked about it at length earlier on, but just to emphasize the importance of an investigation and the importance of Nigerians having access to the findings from the investigations. And then also, as recommended by the House, that there should be consequences where it needs to happen. So we don't just want to have headline stories like this. We've had it in the past where we get revelations from meetings at the House and then it ends there. There's a media trial, people are offended, and then it ends there. And the those who are guilty or found guilty are walking free.
Like the off your mic saga. Nobody heard anything
Some of them
anymore.
even, run for election again.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there are two things that stand out for me. I mean, they are not major stories. Is the election of the Speaker of the Lagos State Assembly. I'm very interested in what happens in Lagos. And I can see the friendship or the camaraderie between the Speaker and the Governor of Lagos State, which is good. But I hope that that translates into efficiency in terms of relationship of the State Assembly and the Governor, and making sure that the executive is held to account and there is result in the management of Lagos. And finally, Piers Morgan. I'm glad that Harry mentioned Piers Morgan. That is very important because that man has been a thorn in his flesh.
Well, I'm a fan of Piers Morgan, by the way. And what the Duke, what was made clear to him by the King's Counsel is that his stories don't seem to add up. And that many of the claims that he had been making were speculative, even in his book that he published. What that shows is that nobody is above the law. You can't say because you are royalty, then you can make claims. You can be interrogated. And he had the first of his appearances at the High Court yesterday in London. Okay, we'll take a short break now. Thank you very much, Emmanuel.